Hare Krishna, Hari Bol to all the devotees who led the chanting. Thank you, Hitesh Prabhu. Start with Mangalacharan. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Okay, as always, we'll open our hearts now with the prayers with Vandanam. So we have been reciting these wonderful prayers from Srimad Stotra over the course of this whole month of April, the month of auspicious month of appearance of Sri Ramchandra. And these are prayers by one of the pure devotees of Sri Ramchandra, Sri Kulashekara Alvar, who, as we know, is none other than the incarnation of the Kaustuba mani that the Lord wears around his chest. So we have been doing 10 prayers every week. This is the concluding week of this month, and we have come to the finale. So now we will start with 41 to 53 today. These are the final set of verses from Mukundamala Stotra. Okay, I'll recite and then we'll do the translations. नारायणाय नम एत्यमुम् एव मन्त्रम् संसारघोरविषनिर्हरणाय नित्यम् शृण्वन्तु भव्यमतयो यतयोऽनुरागात् उच्चैस्तरम् उपदिशाम्यहम् ऊर्ध्वबाहु चित्तं नैव निवर्तते क्षणमपि श्रीकृष्णपादाम्बुजान् निन्दन्तु प्रियबान्धवा गुरुजना गृह्णन्तु मुञ्चन्तु वा दुर्वादं परिघोषयन्तु मनुजा वंशे कलङ्केस्तु वा तादृक्प्रेमधरानुरागमधुना मत्तायमानं तु मे कृष्णो रक्षतु नो जगत्त्रयगुरुः कृष्णो हि विश्वम्भरः कृष्णादेव समुत्थितं जगदिदं कृष्णे लयं गच्छति कृष्णे तिष्ठति विश्वमेतदखिलं कृष्णस्य दासवयं कृष्णे नाखिलसद्गतिर्वितरिता कृष्णाय तस्मै नमः हे गोपालक हे कृपाजलनिधे हे सिन्धुकन्यापते हे कंसान्तक हे गजेन्द्रकरुणा पारेण हे माधव हे रामानुज हे जगत्त्रयगुरो हे पुण्डरीकाक्षमाम् हे गोपीजननाथ पालय परम् जानामि न त्वां विना दारावाराकरवरसुता तेतनुजो विरिञ्चिः स्तुता वेदस्तव सुरगण भृत्यवर्गः प्रसादः मुक्तिर्माया जगदविकलं तावकी देवकी ते माता मित्रं बलरिपुसुतस्तत्त्वदन्यं न जाने प्रणाममीशस्य शिरफलं विदुस् तदर्चनं पाणिफलं दिवौकशः मनःफलं तद्गुणतत्त्वचिन्तनं वचःफलं तद्गुणकीर्तनं बुधः श्रीमान्नामाप्रोच्य नारायणाख्यं येन प्रापुर्वञ्चितं पापिनोऽपि हा नः पूर्वं वाक्प्रवृत्त न तस्मिन् तेन प्राप्तं गर्भवासादिदुःखम् ध्यायन्ति ये विष्णुमनन्तमव्ययं हृत्पद्ममध्ये सततं व्यवस्थितं समाहितानां सतताभयप्रदं ते यान्ति सिद्धिं परमं तु विष्णविम् तत्त्वं प्रसीद भगवन् कुरु मय्यनाथे विष्णु कृपां परमकारुणिक खलु त्वं संसारसागरनिमग्नमनन्तदीनम् उद्धर्तुम् अर्हसि हरे पुरुषोत्तमोऽसि क्षीरसागरतरङ्गशीकर सारतारकितचारुमूर्तये भोगि भोगशयनीयशायिने माधवाय मधुविद्विषे नमः अलम् एका प्राणिनां पातकानां निरसनविषये या कृष्ण कृष्णेति वाणी यदि भवति मुकुन्दे भक्तिरानन्दसान्द्रा करतलकलिता सा मोक्षसाम्राज्यलक्ष्मीः यस्य प्रियौ श्रुतिधारौ कविलोकविरौ मित्रौ द्विजन्मवर यस्य प्रियौ श्रुतिधरौ कविलोकवीरौ मित्रौ द्विजन्मवरपद्मशरावद्भुतम् तेनाम्बुजाक्षचरणाम्बुजसत्पदेन राज्ञा कृतकृतिरियं कुलशेखरेण मुकुन्दमालां पठतां नराणाम् अशेषसौख्यं लभते न कस्वित् समस्तपापक्षयमेत्य देहि प्रयाति विष्णु परमं पदं तत् श्री मुकुंदमाला स्तोत्र की जय श्री कुलशेखर आलवार की जय जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय Okay, wonderful. Finally, we reached the conclusion. Okay, anybody would like to read translations from 41 to 53?
I can go ahead, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol. Yes, Meena Mataji.
Raising my arms, I utter this compassionate advice as loudly as I can. If those in the renounced order want to be delivered from the terrible poisonous condition of material life, they should have the good sense to constantly hear the mantra Om Namo Narayana. My mind cannot turn from Sri Krishna's lotus feet even for a moment. So let my dear ones and other relatives criticize me. My superiors accept or reject me as they like. The common people spread evil gossip about me, and my family's reputation be sullied. For a madman like me, it is honor enough to feel this flood of love for Godhead, which brings such sweet emotions of attraction for my Lord. May Krishna, the spiritual master of the three worlds, protect us. Continually bow down to Krishna. Krishna has killed all our enemies. Obeisances to Krishna. From Krishna alone this world has come into being. I am the servant of Krishna. This entire universe rests within Krishna. O Krishna, please protect me. O young cowherd boy, O ocean of mercy, O husband of Lakshmi, the ocean's daughter, O killer of Kamsa, O merciful benefactor of Gajendra, O Madhva, O younger brother of Rama, O spiritual master of the three worlds, O lotus-eyed lord of the gopis, I know no one greater than you. Please protect me. Your wife is the beautiful daughter of the ocean. Your son is Lord Brahma. The Vedas are your panegyrists. The demigods comprise your company of servants, and liberation is your benediction. While this entire universe is a display of your magic power, Srimati Devaki is your mother, and Arjuna, the son of Indra, is your friend. For these reasons, I have no interest in anyone but you. The wise inhabitants of the heavenly regions know that the perfection of the head is to offer prostrate obeisances to the Supreme Lord. The perfection of the life breath is to worship the Lord. The perfection of the mind is to ponder the details of his transcendental qualities. And the perfection of speech is to chant the glories of his qualities. What person, even if most sinful, has ever said aloud the blessed name Narayana and failed to fulfill his desires? But we, alas, never use our power of speech in that way. And so we had to suffer such miseries as living in a womb. The unlimited and unfallible Vishnu, who is always present within the lotus of the heart, grants fearlessness to those who fix their intelligence upon him. The devotees who meditate on him will reach the supreme perfection of the Vaishnavas. O Supreme Lord, O Vishnu, you are the most compassionate. Now please show me your favor and bestow your mercy upon this helpless soul. O unlimited Lord, kindly uplift this wretch who is drowning in the ocean of material existence. O Lord Hari, you are the supreme personality of Godhead. Obeisances to Lord Madhava, enemy of the Madhu demon. His beautiful form, lying on the conch of the serpent Ananta, is speckled by the shower of spray from the milk ocean's waves. By themselves, the words Krishna, Krishna are sufficient to drive away the sins of all living beings. Anyone who possesses devotion for Lord Mukunda, that is densely imbued with ecstasy, hold in the palms of his hands the gifts of liberation, worldly influence, and wealth. This work was composed by King Kulkshekhara, be at the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed Lord. The king's two beloved friends are the twins stems of the exquisite lotus of the Brahmana community, expert Vedic scholars renowned as leaders of the community of the poets. Who among those who recite this Mukandamala will not achieve complete happiness? As an embodied being who chants these prayers will have all his sinful reactions eradicated and proceed straight to the supreme abode of Lord Vishnu. Um, Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Minamataji. So, all the devotees who are listening to this in body and in spirit in ISKCON Cincinnati, all these prayers, wonderful prayers of Kulashekara Alvar, all our sinful reactions will be eradicated and will proceed straight to the Supreme Abode of Lord Vishnu. Hari Bol Jai. Thank you for being here every single day this month to hear these wonderful prayers by one of the pure devotees of the Lord. Okay, so now we'll move on to another pure devotee of the Lord, Srila Prabhupada, by reading his Leelamrit. We are currently reading on chapter 17. Prabhupada is on the Bawari. He has this wonderful loft, Air Goloka or AIR as it was called, Artist in Residence, where he landed his Air Goloka or Air Vaikuntha to uplift the Sharana gutter people who were lying in the gutter and taking them to Sharanagati. And unfortunately, one sincere devotee, David Allen, also while he's chanting, he's interested in kirtan, he's still not able to give up his bad habits. He's not able to follow the four regulative principles of no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling, etc. Right? So, and one day he becomes violent, and Prabhupada has to leave the loft because he was while Prabhupada, of course, being a pure devotee of the Lord, was fearless, but at the same time, this was getting just out of bounds now because he was not in control. And like Prabhupada said, the poor child was probably victimized because he was under the influence of these drugs. So eventually he comes and he calls another person who used to come to his classes, Carl. So eventually he moves into his apartment. But again, after a few days, his wife is not very happy with the Swami moving in and trying to influence her husband to give up his bad habits of meat eating. So eventually it started creating some tensions. And let's see what happens next, what Prabhupada decides to do. So we are continuing from this paragraph. Anybody would like to read today? If not, I'll go ahead.
I can go ahead,
Okay.
Prabhuji. Where are we starting from?
Prabhupada was not insensitive to
Okay,
the
got it.
distress.
Hanji, thank you. Prabhupada was not insensitive to the distress of his presence was causing. He did not want to inconvenience anyone, and of course, he could have avoided all inconvenience, both for himself and for people like Eva, if he had never come to America. But he wasn't concerned about convenience or inconvenience, pleasing Eva or displeasing her. He wanted to teach Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada had a mission, and Karl's loft did not seem to be the right base for it. Prabhupada's friends all agreed he should move in more into the center of things. The Bowery and Chinatown were far too out of the way. They would find him a new place. Forced by conditions, he accepted as Krishna's mercy. Prabhupada sat patiently, trying not to disturb anyone, yet speaking about Krishna consciousness day and night. Karl assumed him that with half a dozen people searching, it would not take long to find a new place, and they would all chip in together and help him with the rent. A week passed, and no one had found a suitable place for the Swami. One day, Prabhupada suggested that he and Karl take a walk up to Michael Grant's place and ask him to help. Mike, I was awakened one morning very early, and Carl was on the phone saying, Swamiji and I were just taking a walk and we thought we would come up and see you. I said, but it's too early in the morning. And he said, well, Swamiji wants to see you. They were very nearby us, just down the street, so I had to quickly get dressed. And by the time I got to the door, they were there. I was totally unprepared, but invited them up. The television had been on from the previous night, and there were some cartoons on. The Swami sat behind Carl and me on the couch. I was keeping a pet cat, and cat jumped up on the Swamiji's lap, and he abruptly knocked it onto the floor. We began to talk, but Swamiji glanced over at the cartoons on the television set and said, "This is nonsense." Suddenly, I realized the television was on and that it was nonsense, and I got up very quickly and saying, "Why, yes, it is nonsense," and turned it off. As Roberto talked, he tried to impress on Mike um, how difficult it was for him to live with Carl and Eva. And Mike listened, but was the Swami so sure he could not go back to the Bowery loft and live with David Allen? Except for that one incident, it had been a nice setup, hadn't it? Prabhupada explained that David had become a madman from too much LSD. He was dangerous. Mike gave the Swami a half incredulous look. David Allen? Dangerous? Prabhupada then told the story. There's an old saying in India that you get yourself a spiritual master, you sit opposite him, you learn everything from him that you can, then you kill him, you move his body to one side, and then you sit in his place, and then you become the guru. As Prabhupada spoke, the mic began to feel that David was dangerous, so he did not ask for any more details. Mike could see that Swamiji was appealing to him for help, and as they sat all together on the couch, Mike and Carl quietly nodded in agreement. The Swami was looking at Mike, and Mike was trying to think. So, how can we help Swamiji? Carl interjected. Mike explained that he was a pianist and he had to practice every day. He had two pianos, two sets of drums, a vibraphone, and other instruments right there in his apartment. Musicians were always coming over to practice, and they all practiced their instruments for hours. And also, he was living with a girl, and there was a cat in the apartment. But Mike promised that he would help find Swami a new place. Prabhupada thanked him, and along with the car, stood to leave. Mike felt obligated. He was good at getting things done, and he wanted to do this for the Swami. So the next day, he went to the Village Voice, got the first newspaper of the press, looked through the classified ads until he found a suitable prospect, and phoned the Lord. It was a storefront on 2nd Avenue, and an agent, Mr. Gardiner, agreed to meet Mike there. Carl and Swami also agreed to come. Mr. Gardiner and Mike were the first to arrive. Mike noted the unusual hand painted sign, Matchless Gifts. Above the front window, it was a holdover, Mr. Gardiner explained, from where the place had been a nostalgic gift shop. Mike proceeded to describe described the Swami as a spiritual leader from India, an important author, and a Sanskrit scholar. The rental agent seemed receptive. As soon as Prabhupada and Carl arrived, everyone had been congenially introduced. Mr. Gardiner showed them the small storefront. Prabhupada, Carl, and Mike carefully considered its possibilities. It was empty, plain, and dark. The electricity had not been turned on, and it needed repainting. It would be good for meetings, but not for Swami's residence. But at $125 a month, it seemed promising. Then Mr. Gardiner revealed a small second floor apartment just across the rear courtyard, directly behind the storefront, another $71 a month, and the Swami could live there. Although first Mr. Gardiner would have to repaint it, the total rent would come to $196, and Carl, Mike, and others would pitch in. Prabhupada had an idea of making Mr. Gardiner the first official trustee of his fledgling Krishna Consciousness Society. During their conversation, he presented Mr. Gardiner with a 3-volume set of his Srimad Bhagavatam, and inside the storefront's front cover, he wrote a personal dedication and then signed it A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Mr. Gardiner felt flattered and honored to receive these books from their author himself. He agreed to become a trustee of the new Society for Krishna Consciousness and so pay the society $20 a month. Mr. Gardiner took a week to paint the apartment. Meanwhile, Mike arranged for the electricity and water to be turned on and had a phone installed. And he and Carl raised the first month's rent among their friends. When everything was ready, Mike gave Prabhupada a call at Carl's. Now it was time to move the Swami into his new place. A few friends who were on hand accompanied the Swami over to the Bowery loft. Maybe they weren't prepared to become his surrendered disciples, but contributing toward the first month's rent and volunteering a few hours of work to help set up his place were exactly the kind of things they could do very willingly. At the loft, they all gathered up portions of the Swami's belongings, and then they started out on foot up Bowery. It was like a safari, a caravan of half a dozen men loaded with Prabhupada's things. Michael carried the heavy Roberts reel to reel, and even the Swami carried 2 suitcases. They did everything so quickly that it wasn't until they were well on their way and Mike's arm began to ache that he realized, why didn't we bring a car? It was the end of June, and hazy summer sun poured its heat down into the Bowery jungle, starting and stopping the strange safari, stretching over a block, slowly trekked along. Prabhupada struggled with his suitcases, past the seemingly unending row of restaurant supply shops and lamp stores between Grand, Broome, and Spring Streets. Sometimes he paused and rested, setting his suitcases down. He was finally moving from the Bowery. His electrician friend on the 72nd Street would have been relieved, although perhaps he would have disapproved of the 2nd Avenue address also. At least he was finished residing on Skid Row. He walked on, past the homeless men outside the Salvation Army shelter, past the open door taverns, stopping at streetlights, standing alongside total strangers, keeping an eye on the progress of his procession of friends who struggle along behind him. Should I continue, Prabhuji?
I think we can pause here, Mataji. Like, yes, thank you so much for reading. I'm reading at a pace that matters. Not just anything that you want to share on today's reading.
Yes, Prabhuji. I was actually reading the book yesterday. I think it was Sign of Soul, Srila Prabhupada, and or Science of Self-Realization. I don't know. I'm reading like 5 books simultaneously, so I forget which book I read what from. So when Prabhupada was describing about the Swami, creating disciples and disciples trying to kill him, there was a story yesterday that I read that there was a rat. He was really, really frustrated because cat was always trying to kill him. So he prayed and he asked God for a benediction. God said, what do you want? He said, I want to become a cat because it's trying to kill me. God turns him into cat. And then dog started to chase the cat. And then he prayed again. And then God said, "What do you want to be?" He said, "I want to become dog now because dog's trying to kill me." It's like, okay. From dog, he went to fox. From fox, he's like, okay, tiger's trying to kill me. Make me a tiger. I want to be a tiger. So the God turns him into a tiger. And the tiger says, "Now I'm going to eat you because I'm tiger and I can eat you." Because he's trying to kill the person who created him, and God turned him back into rat. So that was a cycle completed there. So, this is something like it's a human nature or even it's an animal nature to try to kill the person who creates us. So that's something to be mindful about, that we don't hurt the person who help us rise, who help us, people who give us push to get to the second, third, fourth, fifth step. We want to make sure that we are very mindful of that and always respect them, not try to eat them instead.
Mm.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Yes, that's wonderful reflection. Yeah, that's one of the very, very basic principles and highest principles actually of Vaishnava etiquette, right? That yeah, we always consider ourselves to be the most fallen, the most. We have to have develop that quality of humility, right? That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us. That जैसे वो एक मुहावरा भी है ना, बुरा जो देखन मैं चला बुरा ना मिलिया कोई,
जो
जो
मन
देखा
देखा अपना,
हाँ,
मुझसे बुरा न कोई.
बुरा ना कोई, right? So yes. So yes, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And ultimately, if you go further up, like I was, as you were speaking, I was saying, like sometimes that's what happens in the world when people who become atheists or Mayavadis. Ultimately, they even want to destroy God Himself, right? Or they want to become God because they think that we are God, right? There is
Yeah.
no other God. So ultimately, if you go up the chain, yes, it becomes that, and that is the most unfortunate thing that a soul, a jivatma can do. So, and that's why they are rotting here uh, in the material world. And like Prabhupada was on the skid row, right? Everybody is skidding down into the hellish conditions. But now it's good to see that he's moving. He's bringing them up from skid row. He's coming back up down and lifting people from this miserable conditions of life. So we just need to hold on to his dhoti, as Anandini Gopika Mataji reminded us.
And also walking that procession where like six people lined up carrying up the stuff, you can feel that there are, probably an area like over the Rhine where we have storefronts and all those taverns lined up and people trying to walk and trying to move Swamiji. I think it's whoever captured all this is amazing.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Anybody else would like to share anything?
Hare Krishna, beautiful point, Minu Mataji. When she was saying, I was just getting reminded of all our Guru works, who are so dedicated to this movement. They always keep Prabhupada on the top, and that's how the legacy of Krishna consciousness have moved so far, so purely. They could have just made themselves as the big gurus, and people may or may not, it would have not been so effective. But their surrender and their total humility kept this movement going forward. So that was one point I got reflected, that we should be so thankful to this beautiful disciplic succession and the purity with which it is going on. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Anandani Gopi Mataji, you're here. So yeah, you were asking me yesterday about the Malini, and that was the one we read today. And actually, there's another one that I remembered after you asked me, Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Janmavado. So that's
Yes,
also Malini.
yes,
But
that's
fifth.
correct, Prabhu. That's the one I was thinking of. But
Mhm.
your rendition was so beautiful. I was thinking, oh gosh, I can never reproduce that. Even when you say it until Friday, I won't be able to say it. But beautiful, beautiful reflections. Yay, Second Avenue. We are now at the Second Avenue forefront. Very excited to hear forward. matchless gifts. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm driving to work, but listening
Okay. Okay. I want you to be focused. Yes.
in. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else has any other comments? Samir Prabhu, welcome back. Been a long break. Good to see you again. Hare Krishna. I would love for you to also sing someday. You have a beautiful voice as well, Samir Prabhu. So yeah, some of these verses from Mukundamala Stotra. Yes. Amresh Prabhu, would you like to share anything?
No, I think there's a beautiful sharing in the morning, so I probably don't have anything to add, but it's beautiful to hear everyone's reflection on it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, dear devotees, so we'll conclude here for today. And thank you again for your wonderful association. We all keep each other inspired to join the Japa call every morning. And that way we keep kind of hold hands of each other and we walk behind Srila Prabhupada in his footsteps on this wonderful process that he has given us to chant the glories of the holy names every morning. And this book that we are reading, of course, these are pastimes of Srila Prabhupada, right? And so to me, I was just telling other devotee a couple of days ago, that's actually not different from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are supposed to read Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning, and hopefully we'll get there also, like with this wonderful list that Vishwanath Prabhu has given us. But at this point, right now, we are reading kind of transcendental pastimes of a pure devotee of the Lord. And that is what Srimad Bhagavatam is actually, right? It is the transcendental pastimes of the Lord and his pure devotees. So Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita is also non-different than from Srimad Bhagavatam actually. So thank you for your kind association and joining us on this journey so that we can learn from Srila Prabhupada's life journey and take a drop of inspiration, and may his mercy be on all of us that we can take his movement forward. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Have a great
Hare
day,
Krishna.
everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.